So, how did this wild story even start? Let's set the scene. Alcatraz Island, smack in the middle of San Francisco Bay, wasn't just any prison. It was the prison. Known as The Rock, it opened as a federal penitentiary in 1934, built to cage the worst of the worst. Think Al Capone, George Machine Gun Kelly, guys who'd laugh at a regular jail cell. The place was a fortress, iron bars, guard towers every few feet, and a 1.5-mile stretch of freezing, current-whipped water between the island and freedom. The message was clear: try to escape, and you're either caught or dead. From 34 to 63, 36 guys tested that theory in 14 separate attempts. Most got nabbed, some got shot, and the rest? Well, the bay probably swallowed them whole. But Alcatraz wasn't always a prison. Back in the 1850s, it was a military fort, guarding the bay with cannons. By the Civil War, it held Confederate prisoners, and later, it locked up military deserters. When the feds took over in 34, they turned it into a maximum security nightmare. The cells were tiny, 5 by 9 feet, barely enough room to pace. Guards outnumbered inmates 3 to 1, and they checked on you a dozen times a day. The showers? Scalding hot, so you'd never get used to the bay's icy grip. It was psychological warfare as much as physical lockdown. Now, imagine you're one of these inmates. You're staring out at that foggy bay, hearing the waves crash, knowing the currents could drag you under in minutes. Would you risk it? Most didn't. The prison's rep was ironclad. No one had ever made it out alive. That is, until 1962, when 3 guys decided to call that bluff. Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin weren't just any prisoners, they were escape artists, sent to Alcatraz because other jails couldn't hold them. Morris had an IQ in the top 2%, a brain that could outthink locks and guards. The Anglins? Brothers from a dirt-poor Florida family, seasoned bank robbers with a knack for breaking free. Together, they saw The Rock not as a dead end, but a challenge. And that's where this story takes off, because understanding Alcatraz's unbeatable aura makes what they did next absolutely mind-blowing. So, how do you break out of a place designed to crush your spirit? You get creative, and these guys were next level. Let's rewind to December 1961, when Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, stuck in neighboring cells, started whispering plans. They weren't rushing it. This was a slow burn, 6 months of grit and genius. First problem, those concrete walls. They got their hands on some discarded saw blades and metal spoons, even rigged an electric drill from a busted vacuum cleaner motor. Picture this: Morris playing his accordion during music hour to drown out the scraping as they chipped away at the ventilation ducts behind their cell. It's almost funny, right? A prison band covering up a jailbreak. But that was just step 1. To fool the guards during bed checks, they crafted dummy heads, papier-mâché masterpieces made from soap, toothpaste, and concrete dust, painted with stolen maintenance shop supplies, topped with real hair swiped from the barbershop floor. These weren't just props. They were lifelike enough to buy them hours. Then came the getaway gear. They stitched over 50 raincoats into life preservers and a 6 by 14-foot raft, sealing it with liquid plastic heated over steam pipes. Paddles, plywood, and screws. A stolen concertina doubled as bellows to inflate it. This wasn't some desperate dash. It was a calculated operation. On June 11, 1962, around 10:30 p.m., it all went down. They slipped the dummy heads into their beds, squeezed through those widened ducts into an unguarded utility corridor, and climbed a ventilation shaft to the roof. From there, they slid 50 feet down a kitchen vent pipe. scaled two 12-foot barbed wire fences, and hit a blind spot near the power plant. That's where they launched their raft, aiming for Angel Island, 2 miles north. The plan? Land, steal clothes and a car, then vanish. It's wild to think about. 3 guys in a rubber raft, paddling against the bay's brutal currents, betting everything on their DIY skills. Did they know the odds? Probably. But they'd spent half a year turning trash into treasure. And now it was go time. What happened next, though, would keep us guessing for decades. Because the real question isn't just how they escaped, but where they went. The morning of June 12, 1962, turned Alcatraz upside down. Guards strolled through D Block for their routine 7 a.m. head count, expecting the usual, rows of inmates, some grumbling, some still out cold. But in cells 138, 140, and 142, something was off. 3 figures lay under blankets, heads on pillows. A guard nudged one. Nothing. He pulled back the sheet, and there it was, a dummy head, staring blankly with painted eyes and a toilet paper grin. Panic hit fast. The prison's siren wailed, cell blocks locked down, and by 7:30 a.m., the FBI was on the scene, launching a manhunt that had spanned air, sea, and land for 10 straight days. What did they find? Bits and pieces, but no bodies. On June 14th, a paddle bobbed 200 yards off Angel Island's southern shore, crude but unmistakable. That same week, a wallet washed up, waterlogged, stuffed with the Anglin's family contacts. June 21st brought scraps of raincoat material near the Golden Gate Bridge, and the next day, a deflated life jacket floated 50 yards from Alcatraz's rocky edge. Then, on July 17th, the SS Norefjell, a Norwegian freighter, radioed in. A body drifting 15 nautical miles out. San Francisco County Coroner Henry Turkle checked it against escapee descriptions, but ruled it out, pinning it on a local suicide. Cecil Philip Herman. The clues painted a grim picture, but they didn't add up to proof. The FBI's theory came quick. The raft buckled, the bay won. That night, the water hovered at 54 degrees, cold enough to kill. Hypothermia sets in fast. Your core temp drops, limbs go numb, and in 20 minutes, you're done. The currents, running 4 to 7 knots, could have dragged them anywhere, out to the Pacific or under the Golden Gate. By 1979, after 17 years of dead-end leads, the Bureau closed the file. Drowned, they said, pointing to the raft debris, the lack of stolen cars reported that night, and Alan West's testimony, the 4th guy, stuck in his cell when the vent wouldn't budge. He spilled the plan. Angel Island, 2 miles north, then steal clothes and a ride. But the tides, the FBI argued, had other plans, likely sweeping them west into oblivion. Yet, cracks showed early. San Francisco Bay's a graveyard. Bodies from suicides off the Golden Gate surface all the time, usually within days. None did here. No wreckage beyond a paddle and scraps turned up either. Odd for a flimsy raincoat raft. In 2014, Dutch researchers at Delft University ran a simulation, 3D ocean current models based on June 11th's tide data. Their take? If the trio launched at 11:30 p.m., they could have hit Horseshoe Bay, just north of the bridge. Missed that window, say 10 p.m. or midnight, and they're pulled seaward, matching where debris landed. It's not proof they lived, but it's a dent in the drowning story.